Hi. Hey, can you hear me?
Unmute. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yes. Okay, great. Okay, great. Hold on. I'm trying to figure this out. Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay,
There we
here I am.
go.
Okay.
There we go.
Sorry.
Excellent. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I always feel better when I finally put faces to people in my classes because it's always a bit
Yes.
weird interacting
Yes.
purely
Same.
online. Yeah.
Yeah. And it makes it hard when it's purely online. And I
Yeah.
think that's why I don't know if that's why I'm struggling. I mean, I've taken all
I
my
think,
classes online,
yeah.
but I don't know. For some reason, I'm just this semester, I've reached out to every professor that I'm taking classes with. So
It happens. It happens. Yeah. And especially with this class, I feel like I feel like I need to be there more, talk to the students more to coach you through this because it is a different kind of a different style of class.
right.
So that's why I've been trying to uh reassure people when I can that it's okay. You're gonna find this tough. I
Yes.
I know that. I the class is designed with that in mind, right? You're not penalized for taking a while to get up to speed.
Okay.
So, so yeah, is there any place you specifically want to start? Um,
Um, I do have questions about the summary questions because I saw your email and it had mentioned something about summary questions. And I have been doing the workbooks that you sent me
mhm.
and answering those and submitting them on the deadline dates as
Yeah,
far as when they're due.
yeah,
And then I even noticed that you had gave me feedback on the last one, so I worked on that and I
yeah.
felt confident,
Excellent.
more confident on this last one that I did, um, and felt better about it. But I didn't see any summary questions at the end of the workbook. So maybe I'm missing the summary question somewhere and I'm not sure.
Um, Let me take a look. So that you mean for this past week?
Yeah, for like the workbook
For the so last week was
stuff. Is there like summary questions on the workbook that I'm supposed to be answering?
I think there's just one for this week. Here, let me share my screen. Um, so
Okay.
this lesson four is the thing that we were doing last week.
Right.
And I think that so this is I hinted at this in my email that there's one summarizing question, but it requires my input to
Okay.
uh, like I'm gonna look over everyone's final model and kind of draw it together and kind of put together a short video saying, look, these are the models everyone came up with, and just give a quick discussion as to which is the right one and and how we know how you know it.
Okay. Okay. So I
So
didn't like, okay. I
so
thought I
yeah, you
missed a
don't need
whole like,
to. You're gonna do that this week, but you're gonna need you
okay.
need to wait for me uh to put that video together. So
Okay.
you're okay.
Okay.
Right.
Perfect. Perfect. I just thought I missed a bunch of summary questions or been missing summary questions.
No, no, it's the only ones are the ones in the workbook.
Okay. Perfect.
It's-
Perfect. Okay. Questions about the discussion because I don't feel like I'm answering those accordingly either
Yeah.
or submitting them right.
Okay,
Because I
can you give me just a sec because
Yep, go ahead.
logging into D2L and my phone isn't here. And I need to do
No,
the
you're fine. Go ahead.
two-factor authentication. I'll be back in just a sec. I am back. Let me log on. Okay. Okay, so I'll go to the most recent discussion.
Oh.
Sorry, it always takes me ages to figure out how to do a specific thing in D2L.
That's okay. Yeah, it's okay. I
Yeah, I
completely
know. I think
understand.
especially yes, if they change as they changed it all this semester.
Trying to navigate it this semester it's been a real tough one.
It has. It's been a nightmare. Okay, all right.
And I thought it was worse last semester because I started in. So now it's even worse, I feel like, with the changes.
Okay, so I'm looking at a couple of your discussion posts. Um, so I'm looking at the first post you did in A Better Model for Magnetism. Um, and I think it's pretty good. Um,
Okay.
I think I mean, one sign it's good is it makes it easy for someone to come in and respond. Like, so the fact
Okay.
that you've got someone has replied to your post means that the post was sort of specific enough to invite people in to the discussion, uh,
Okay.
if that makes sense. The one
Yes.
the one bit of feedback I would give is it's and this is a can be a difficult thing to do. But so you talk about your struggle understanding a specific concept, right?
Hmm.
The idea of what's going on inside the nail. So it's good that you're specific about what it is you're struggling with, but it would help to kind of do your best to explain what it is that's a struggle within it. Like, what is it about
Okay.
figuring out what's going on inside the nail that makes it tough, that makes it hard to grasp? Um,
Okay.
and I know that that can be tricky, but like any attempt is useful. Um, because often with these things, you know, if you attempt to do that and a few more people attempt to do that, then you can kind of start to, you know, as a whole, piece it together and see, okay, this is what, you know, there are common factors here that we're all struggling with. And like half of the battle with learning anything is identifying not just what you're struggling with, but why you're struggling with it. Like, what is it that is making it a struggle, if that makes sense.
Right. Yes. Very much so.
Okay.
And so do
You-
I need to, I guess I guess I need to do the workbook stuff prior to Sunday so I can respond to the discussion.
That would help, yes. It
Okay.
like you don't necessarily have to complete the entire worksheet by Sunday, right?
Right.
You need enough of it that you have questions to ask, and if you're struggling, you can explain those struggles.
Okay.
You need to have done enough of the worksheet to contribute. You don't, you know, you don't have to have finished the entire thing before you start
Right.
posting in the discussion threads.
Okay. Okay. I just know I wasn't posting in Friday and I'm like, oh, how do I post on Friday
Right.
before because I wasn't getting
Yeah.
the completion done until Sunday
Right.
which then was going back and then putting in the discussion on Sunday. So then I know that was kind of conflicting too.
Yeah. No, I understand it, and I mean, a lot of people um are doing that. It's finding the sort of right routine during the week to, like figuring out how much of the worksheet do I need to do to be able to post on Friday and then have time to respond. I will say it's not, so I put, the reason I put 2 different days is because I want enough people to post by Friday that people can respond by Sunday.
Okay.
Right. Because if I don't do that, then everyone ends up doing all their posts Sunday evening, and then no one has time to read everyone else's and respond.
Yes.
Um,
Interact.
yeah, exactly. And the discussion post should be, reading people's discussion posts should be valuable and help with your own understanding. So I want to make sure that people are posting enough there. But I'm not particularly strict on, if you post a little after Friday or whatever. I don't, I'm not taking points off for that. It's just a general guideline.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense. Do we need to respond back to peers, certain amount of peers, or is it just, does
It's
that matter?
just respond to one peer. So
One
it's
peer. Okay.
so you make one post. So it's a minimum of one post and one response to a peer. And then
Okay.
but you can of course uh post more. Uh
Right. Okay.
especially if you get into a helpful discussion.
Okay. That makes sense. That clears that up for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Um while I've got this up here, I mean, maybe it's worth you trying to put into words what like your main struggles have been with making these models of magnetism. See if we can
It's just the North Pole, South Pole thing that is like the internal, and like that is what's really thrown me off. Like I get the concept that North and South repel and attract, and I get that, but it's like when I cut it in half or cut it in three-fourths, then I'm not understanding like when you separate it, what's gonna happen on the inside.
right.
Yeah.
So
And
what
so
is your, sorry, go on.
and then like doing that quiz that asks those questions, because that's what it asks. Like those were the questions that were asked on that quiz when you went through it. And in my mind, I thought, okay, well, this part would pick up this many nails, or this would have this two-ended side, and this would have two-ended side. And
Mhm.
mentally, that's what I thought. But then when I answered the question, it was like, nope, that's wrong. And then I couldn't really tell like what was right and wrong. And
Right.
so going back to try it again, I'm like, okay, well then trying again, it made it worse, and trying again made it worse. And I'm like, oh, okay, now I'm really
Yeah.
failing this worse.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna just quit trying. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I understand. I think so. I think a general, like one of the difficulties I see most people have with this sort of thing is that we're we're developing a lot of models, right? And everyone has slightly different models for what's going on to try and explain magnetic effects. And in that quiz, they're giving you other models and asking you to make predictions of what would happen if those were your models. Um, and at no point during all of this do we know what the correct model is, right? We don't know what is right, what is actually going on in nature. This entire process is geared towards trying to get closer and closer to that true model in
Right.
the future. Um, and I think that throws uh, some people off. I let me pull up that quiz.
And then when I start like getting really bad quiz grades, I'm like really freaking out because I'm like, oh my goodness, there's my grade. Then it's going away. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
that's when I
understand.
start.
I so don't worry too much. If you
And that's when I start messaging teachers and our professors,
right,
and I'm
yes,
like,
yes.
hey,
No, I
what do
totally
I do
understand.
better? And here I am.
So, and yeah, I completely understand that. And but I would say don't worry. The quiz parts of all of this aren't going to be weighted so much that getting a few bad grades on them will wreck your grade overall.
Okay.
Because the point, I mean, again, the point, it this is the dilemma as a teacher of this class, is that one of my main goals in this class is to try and emphasize that you need to sort of lose your fear of being wrong,
Mhm.
right? That's an essential part of being a scientist, is not being afraid of being wrong about things. But at the same time, we have to grade stuff and we have to
Right.
assign points. And that makes you afraid of being wrong because it has a tangible impact um, on your career going forward. Um, so there's a balancing act that I'm aware of, and basically I try and keep an eye on how all students are doing, and if I can tell when you turn in the worksheets, for example, if you're um like if you are improving on the skills, if you're putting a good effort in, if you're, even though you may not know the answers to certain things, you're able to write down your thinking, suggest possible answers, um, that sort of thing. And if you're doing that, and I see that you're doing that, then and then you have a few bad quiz grades, then you know I'm gonna keep an eye on those quiz grades and try and make sure they don't negatively impact your grade seriously by the end of the class.
Right.
There are several things I like. Part of it I is just me kind of playing it by ear.
Hmm.
But what one of the things I may do is reopen the quizzes once you've had time to kind of digest things a bit more, um, and have you retake them, because that's what ultimately the way you learn is by doing these things over and over again. And the
Right.
first time you do something, like if I give someone three balls to juggle, they're going to drop the balls first time, right? And that's obvious. So it doesn't make any sense grading that first attempt, or giving that first attempt a lot of weight. Sorry, that was a diversion, but I wanted to try and reassure you that that's my philosophy.
Yes. No, that's helpful because it doesn't make me stress as much.
Yes. Yeah. And that's what I'm trying, hopefully, to do. Let's see. Okay, quiz. Okay, here, let me share my screen again. Um, so there is this, so this was the quiz for the second homework. Um, is this the one that you were specifically referring to?
Yep, because I
Okay.
think that's the one that I made like a 33.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
I mean, the other thing is the quizzes like have only 3 or 4 questions in them,
yeah.
which means you miss a couple and suddenly your grades got so yeah, I know. Um, the okay, so maybe let's just run through the questions and you can tell me what you're thinking.
Okay.
Um, so we've got question one where we've got some um, groups model. Um, and let's see. Oh, they're right. Okay. Okay, right. Okay. So this is some group's model. They're saying that when it's unmagnetized, there are none of these north-south entities, whatever they might be. When you rub it with a magnet, then the magnet deposits norths and souths over the boundary of um, the surface of the nail
Yep.
in the pattern shown. And so it's asking which of the following observations made by some other groups would be difficult to explain or could not be explained using this model. So, um, so the first observation is that the magnetized nail behaves like a two-ended magnet. So looking at their model for the magnetized nail, does it look as though that would or would not behave as a two-ended?
Well, it would be two-ended because it has both north and south
Yeah,
on both sides.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, so that the model explains that. Um, Cutting the magnetized nail in half produces two pieces that each behave like two-ended magnets. Uh, can that be explained in this model?
Yes, because if you cut it in half, then both are still the two north-south.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I agree with both of those. Cutting the nail anywhere along its length produces two pieces that each behave like two-ended magnets.
Well, no, because not exactly. Because if you cut it anywhere, so basically if you cut it closer towards the head of the nail or the point of the nail, then it would end up being one-ended because you'd only have north and then you'd only have south.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it can't explain that observation. Um, each end of the magnet can pick up the same number of paper clips. Does that does the model explain that?
Well, I wouldn't know unless it was observed. I mean, like, unless it was tested, right?
Right, but if you're so from previous observations, you know that a magnet picks up paper clips
Right.
no matter which end. Like so the north end and the south end both pick up
So,
paper.
yeah. So it would be able to.
Yes, yeah. It's basically the visually it looks like this representation looks like, it's roughly got the same number of ends at the north end as souths on the south end. And so if you just take the number of the as an indicator of the strength, then it looks as though it would pick up the same number of paper clips. So yeah, so that we can explain that. When cut in half, each end of each half can pick up the same number of paper clips.
So based on if you cut in half, they would have equal numbers on both sides, so it would pick up the same number because it can be picked up by south or north.
It can, but how many? So if you cut it down the middle and you take the right half, um, what's the relatively, are there more souths than norths or vice versa?
Yeah, so there's more south than north and vice versa.
Right. So
Yeah,
so there's an end with more souths or norths, and there's going to be an end with less. So that would suggest that the end with more can pick up more paper clips than the end with less.
right. Okay.
Um, but it does get into, like, when we get to these sorts of questions, there is some possibility of ambiguity coming in. But I think if you just take the model as drawn, which is all we can do, then we can safely say that that it won't pick up equal numbers of paper clips when cut in half. So it can't explain that. After dropping the magnetized nail in water and removing it, the wet nail is still magnetized. Can it explain that?
So when I watched the videos and it was dropped in the water, it was still magnetized.
Yeah.
So I feel like it would still be magnetized based off of this, but it's externally. So would it still be magnetized if the north and south were externally instead of internally?
Right, that's the question. If the model says that these things are sort of on the outside, let's see what the
That's where it threw me off because I'm like, well, would the water wash the magnetized off because all of it's off? I mean, all of it's around the nail. It's not inside the nail.
right.
Not in this
So
depicted picture.
I think this is where you have to read the description. That this is why describing the model is as important as drawing the picture. So
Right.
if you read the description, it says it deposits small north and south entities like dust particles loosely along the surface. So it's kind of asking you to imagine those norths and souths like little dust particles sprinkled on
Right.
the surface. And thinking like
So then,
sorry, go on.
I'm sorry. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go on.
So if it's only lightly dusted, then like it says, then it would wash off.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that the way they describe it indicates it would wash off. And therefore that the model again. Hiya.
Sorry.
No, it's
Sorry.
fine. What's his name?
His name is Zion. He's my 2-year-old.
Oh, nice to meet you.
I have two older ones and they're back in there trying to be quiet. It's hard
Excellent.
being a kid and trying to be quiet.
Yeah. Well, you can enlist them in this class. There's going to be a
No,
um, an activity coming up where you're uh going to be asking um kids their thoughts and explanations of things
okay. Shh, shh, shh.
and analyzing them. So, which is always fun. But anyway, the so we can say that the model cannot explain it can't explain the fact that the nail is still magnetized after you pull it out of the water.
Okay.
This model predicts that it won't be magnetized, but we see that it is. So this model, like there were on a couple of these points, the model fails.
Right.
And so has to be modified in some way. So I think the question is illustrating, it's kind of illustrating this process of taking a model and using it to predict outcomes and seeing whether those outcomes match with real life, what actually happens in real life. And you often have to make a lot of observations because, you know, I think there were only 2 of these observations that the model failed to explain, and 4 of them were fine. But, you know, it only takes one failure to mean that the model can't be correct and needs to be modified somehow.
Right.
Which is the overall point there. Okay, so in this second question, we've got a model where the north-south entities are inside the magnetized nail. And this group found that when they cut a magnetized nail into halves or 1/4, 3/4 pieces, the pieces of the magnetized nail still behave like they're 2-ended. And their description of their model is that inside the nail, there are equal numbers of separate north and south magnetic particles that can move around when attracted or repelled by a magnet. And in the unmagnetized nail, they are all jumbled up randomly. And when the nail is rubbed with one pole of a bar magnet, the magnetic particles arrange themselves as shown in the diagram. Okay, so it's sort of a block of 4 south, then 4 north, then 4 south, and 4 north, and so on. So again, we're going to play the same game. Which of the following observations would be difficult to explain using this model? So first observation, the magnetized nail behaves like a 2-ended bar magnet. Is that explained in this model?
Yes, because they're north and south on both ends.
Yeah, exactly. Cutting the nail anywhere along its length produces 2 pieces that each behave like 2-ended magnets.
Not if you cut it anywhere.
Right, exactly. There are places where I can see that I can cut it, like, for example, here, where 1/2 would have north at each end and 1/2 would have south. So that observation cannot be explained by this model. Each end of the magnetized nail can pick up the same number of paper clips.
Yes, because north and south pick up paper clips.
Yeah, and there's the same number of them, so one end is not stronger than the other.
Right.
So yeah, that can be explained. When cut in half, each end of each half of the nail can pick up the same number of paper clips. I think that the same answer, basically, yes. After dropping the magnetized nail in water and removing it, the wet nail is still magnetized. Can that be explained in this model?
Yes, because that's internally.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not going to be erased.
Yeah. So it looks like the only observation that it can't explain is this second one, that cutting the nail anywhere produces 2-ended magnets.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's might as well finish this off. Um, so this group's model is similar to the last group's model. In this case, they performed experiments where they cut a number of magnetized nails into two pieces of different lengths and found that both pieces were always two-ended. Here is their model. Their description is basically it's the same as this, except when it's magnetized, you've got much smaller blocks of souths and norths arranged like alternating.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of a block of
There's a
four,
block of one.
or you've got block of two, and so on. So so the question here is, could this model be used to explain the observation that when a magnetized nail is cut into two pieces of arbitrary lengths, both pieces are always two-ended? So can it explain that? Is there any
So
way
yes,
is there any way?
yes, because sorry.
I was just going to turn the question around. Is there any way to cut it that would give you two magnets that were one-ended?
Well, if you cut it between the north and south, it would be one-ended.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. If you cut it somewhere like here, then you've got north at this end and north at this end,
Mm-hmm.
south at
And
this end.
that would be one-ended.
Yeah, and that would be one-ended. So the answer is no. According to the diagram, there are some places where the nail could be cut and the two pieces produced would not be two-ended.
So when there's a north and a north, when you cut it, that means it's one-ended, and a south and a south, it's one-ended.
Yeah.
But when there's north and south on either end, it's two-ended.
Yeah.
Okay. That
Yeah.
makes more sense.
Yeah. So one-ended just means both ends do behave the same way. Two-ended,
Okay.
they're behaving differently in some way.
Gotcha. Okay. That makes a whole lot more sense going over it than me taking it.
Excellent. But that's often the case. I mean, you answered the vast majority of this correctly, right? So you know it's not that you don't know this stuff or that you can't answer these questions.
Yeah.
I know from experience that a lot of people in problems like this, especially when there are lots of options, it's very easy to second guess yourself on some of these options.
Mm-hmm.
But so that's why I will tend to, I will almost certainly give these quizzes again and replace the points, because it's always clear to me whenever I go through with these things with students, like you can answer most of the questions, you get most of the things right. Like there's just a
Right.
couple of things where you're unsure about. Unfortunately, the nature of a multiple choice question is it only takes one thing wrong to get the whole thing wrong, no matter the fact that you've got everything else right.
Yeah. One one tiny mistake causes a big
Yes.
disaster.
Yeah, it does. It's disproportionate. But I hope that makes you feel better about your own sort of state of knowledge about this.
Yes, very much so. Very much so.
Good, good. Okay. Any other questions? Anything else?
I know the lesson plan is coming up, and that's like a big deal because there's like 5 lesson plans I think we're supposed to do, right? Am I correct or wrong, or
I
tell me?
think it is 2.
Okay.
I hope it's 2.
I don't know. I've been looking at it and trying to figure it out. Sorry.
I mean, I intended it for it to be 2. Let me just double check. I haven't written it. Or my instructions aren't wrong. Let me
Here, Bubs. This? Oh, okay, okay. I'm sorry. I know. You like the other one. I'm trying to get it. I'm very sorry.
There is absolutely no need to apologize.
Nope. Hold on, Bub. This? Okay, this. Okay, okay. You gotta sit down. No, so you got it's come. It'll come on. It'll come on. I'm fixing it. Here. Look, look. Okay. Sorry.
Oh, it's just one lesson.
Okay, one lesson. And we've already
Yeah,
done
yeah,
part of it already.
yeah. So here, let me just share this. Zoom in a bit. Okay, so in the first lesson plan homework, yeah, so it says find an experiment online, one of the following websites, or I mean, you can use other websites, and then you answer a bunch of questions about that.
Right. Okay.
That
So I did all, sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, go ahead, please.
So I did all the first part lesson plan, but
Mm.
I didn't know if I was supposed to transfer the information over to the Google document lesson plan thing.
Yes. Um,
Okay.
you are, so the lesson plan that you're writing is going to be, yeah, will be in that Google Doc that you created at
Okay.
the start of the semester. You can, I mean, it's fine to write it offline and then copy and paste it over.
Okay. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that I didn't miss doing something because that happens.
Yeah, it
And then
doesn't.
I get confused.
It sounds like you're fine.
Okay. Okay. Because I know I remember submitting that to you already, the lesson part one,
Yeah.
and
I
answering those
have it.
questions.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I know you've been busy too, so that's okay. I just want to make sure that I was doing right
Yes, you
by
are.
that. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Perfect. Perfect. So just one lesson plan that we got to do. Okay.
It's one lesson plan, but it's the point is to develop a fairly thorough lesson plan according to the 5E template. And so like the basic flow of this project is the second part of the lesson plan project is coming up, where you'll actually complete a first draft of the whole lesson plan. And
Okay.
the third part is going to be a peer review process where you're going to uh, be given someone else's lesson plan in the class uh, and kind of give feedback on it. And someone else will be looking at your lesson plan and giving feedback on it.
Okay.
Then the fourth part will be you take that feedback and you revise your lesson plan to come up.
Okay. Perfect. Sounds good.
Awesome.
Good, 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 good. Okay.
Okay. Any other questions?
No, I think that answered all my questions and I feel a lot better. A lot better than what I've been
Excellent. Excellent.
feeling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm very thankful. So,
Do you mind? So I record these office hours just in case it's useful to make it available to the rest of the class. Would you mind if I make it available?
no, that's fine. Because if it helped me, so if it helps somebody else,
Yeah, yeah. So
hey, great.
I think our discussion will help
Yeah,
a lot of people. So
yeah,
yeah, great.
yeah, I'm okay with that. I look like a hot mess, but
uh, Me too, me too.
but that's okay. No, I'm okay with that. Like I said, I'm all about helping. I just want to be successful, and anybody else that can be successful, I'm okay with that too.
Yeah,
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 that's
that's
my main goal. So,
yeah. Okay, well, my parting message will be you're good, you're doing fine, you can
okay,
do this stuff. You are not, you are where you should be, I think, in your thinking and understanding.
okay,
So I don't think you need to stress uh
okay.
about this class.
Okay, well, if I email you again, just tell me to calm
That's
down.
fine. Anytime, like honestly, anytime you start feeling stressed again, please email me.
Okay,
And these office hours happen every week, so
okay,
always pop in and
I will.
discuss.
Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Well, have a good night.
You too.
Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.